My pranams to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, devotees around the world. And thank you for joining us today to celebrate the divine appearance day of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj. Please let me know in the chat if the sound and video are good quality, and then we'll begin with the broadcast. Nama Shrestha Manamapi Asachiputram Atra Surupam Rupam Tasyagrajamuri Purim Maturim Gostuvatim Radha Kundamagiribaram Ahoradikam Bharvasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemabhadivyatschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Sham Sundar Shikandasekar Smaraha Samurali Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanidhe Sapriya Charana King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvayabhina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tam Nayamam Chanantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Satasishimad Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, Nityalila Parishtom Vishnupad Ashtodar Satsishimad Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj, whose divine appearance date is today. And I offer my pranam to Srila Prabhupada, his beloved sannyas disciple, and to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and all the illustrious members of our Sri Guru Parampara, by whose causeless mercy and diligent endeavors the nectar of the divine Braja Prem and the Harinam Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descends into this world on this very day. To all the Parampara, I offer my Dandavat Pranam. And finally, I offer my pranam to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters around the world, who have come together to celebrate this most auspicious day. We can say that on this day, this astrological Tithi, which was January the 24th in 1898, then our Param Gurudev took birth in this world. Actually, just as Krishna is transcendental and has no birth and death, as he appears and disappears by the influence of Yogamaya, so in the same way, it is said, Na karma bandhanam janma vaishnavanam na vidyate. There is no birth for the pure devotees, there is no death, there is no bondage of karma. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they appear in this world to purify us and show us the path of pure bhakti. So, on this day, in 1898, our Param Gurudev was born. His father's name was Sriyut Sharat Chandra Guhata Kurta, and his mother's name was Sri Bhuvana Mohini Devi. So when he was born, he was very effulgent, had a very golden complexion. And because of this, even though the astrologers calculated that his name should be Shailendranath Guhata Kurta, but all the family members, they affectionately called him Jonah. So Jonah is an affectionate way of saying Jyotsna, which means a moonbeam, a ray of the moon, because he was so golden and effulgent. And the family called him Vinod Bihari. Vinod Bihari. So when he was in his childhood, he was very well behaved. His father was a very high-ranking official in the legal system, in the court system, and his mother was from a family of zamindars. So they were very prosperous landholders. His mother was very, very strict, and his family were Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. In fact, his father had received Diksha from Sri Vijay Krishna Goswami. Now, Vijay Krishna Goswami was a very famous acharya in the Advaita Paribar, the family descendants of Sri Advaita Acharya. In his younger age, he was famous as a Siddha yogi, and his reputation had spread far and wide as being a person with great mystic powers, all the perfections that come from the practice of tapasya and yoga sadhana. But actually, as he became older, then he completely became inspired and left aside the yoga sadhana practice to be fully immersed in the nectar of Harinam Sankirtan and in the nectar of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this was a very special pastime, so that those who have inclination and taste towards yoga will see. Even the great yogis, Atmaramas Chamunayo Nigranta Apyurukrame Kurvanta Hoita Kim Bhaktim Itam Bhuta Ganohari. They leave behind their dry sadhana, and they immerse themselves in the nectar of Krishna's service, because the form of Krishna, the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is a transcendental, beyond time and space. It is eternal and full of adbhut gun, astonishing qualities. So his father was initiated by this great Siddha Mahatma. So from childhood he was raised in a very pure Gaudiya Vaishnav household. So when he was at school, he would go to school every day, and his parents would give him some pocket money to buy snacks and so on. But when he was at school, he got together with his friends and said, "Oh, look, our parents, they give us some money for snacks, but we have all the necessities that we need in our life. But there are many others. They don't have the basic necessities of life. Why don't we put our pocket money together and make a fund, and then we can do some welfare to help local poor people and old people and sick people?" So as a young boy, he formed this club, and they began their social welfare activities in addition to their schoolwork. So one evening, it became late, and Jonah, or Vinod Bihari, had not returned yet from school, and his mother was being very strict. She was quite upset, and she came to the gate of the yard, carrying a stick in her hand, and she was waiting for her son to return and to rebuke him harshly for not immediately returning home from school and doing his homework and so on. So finally, after a long time, the young boy, Vinod Bihari, arrived there, And his mother very sternly said, "Where have you been? What is happening to you? I don't want you to be wandering around in the street with so many urchins. You should return immediately and do your homework and your studies." So then, very calmly and very affectionately, Vinod Bihari told his mother, "Oh mother, along with my friends we have made a club, and the pocket money that you give to us, we put it together in a fund. And today there was an old woman, she has no family to take care of her, and she'd become very sick with cholera. So we went to her place and we arranged a doctor, medicine and a good diet, and now she's recovering. And from there I've returned directly here." So then his mother, Bhuvana Mohini Devi, tears came in her eyes and the stick she was holding in her hand fell from her hand to the floor. And then she embraced her son and she said, "I'll never try to inflict discipline upon you again, because you have discipline and a good heart." So we see that from his childhood he had a very intense desire to sacrifice his own time and energy for the benefit of others. As he was growing up, he heard one verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. "Bharata bhumite janma manusya janma jha, janma sataka kari karo paro upakar." There it is said that all persons who have taken birth in the holy land of Bharat, the place of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, it is their responsibility to make their own life successful and then engage in welfare activities for others. What does it mean to make one's life successful? One's life is a failure. It is a complete disaster if, having attained this rare human birth, we don't purify our hearts of the material contamination, of bodily identification, and be fully engaged in the service of God, by which we can see the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, by which we can attain our divine, eternal, transcendental body, and in that transcendental form directly engage in the loving service of Radha and Krishna. This is the success of life. So if we squander our time in worldly activities, there will be no opportunity to be successful in any way, and it will be a matter of great shame in the old age and at the end of life. So at that time, the young Vinod Bihari was thinking, what does it mean to make one's life truly successful and then engage in the eternal, transcendental welfare of the souls? For this he knew that it would be necessary to meet with a qualified guru and under his guidance learn about the mysteries of Krishna consciousness. So that young boy, in the same spirit, when he was older, he accepted the renounced order of life, and he gave his full energy in trying to bring good fortune, to bring the opportunities to become connected with Krishna in eternal transcendental love to all the people of the world. And so we ourselves and all the devotees around the world, especially the Western devotees, knowingly or unknowingly, they have become to some degree the recipients of his causeless compassion, because it was he who gave the sannyas order to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Many years later, we see that it was our Parama Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, who inspired Srila Prabhupada to accept the renounced order. And shortly after that, he set out from India and came to America and then traveled throughout the world to bring Krishna consciousness to all the people. In 1915, when Vinod Bihari was only 17 years old, at that time he very much liked to associate with his aunts. He had his father's sisters. Their names were Saroj Vasini and Priyatama Devi. So his two paternal aunts had become the first and second female disciples of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, respectively. And so they decided to take their nephew to Mayapur in the week-long period leading up to Gaura Purnima, to meet with their Gurudev, whose name at that time was Sri Bharshabhanabi Devi Dayita Das, later to become famous as the great Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So they took him to Mayapur, and he met with his eternal spiritual master, Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and walked with him throughout the 9 islands of Navadvip Dham for 9 days, listening to the beautiful pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and deep Siddhanta and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavata. And then finally they returned at the end of the parikram to Mayapur. So at that time Vinod Bihari was very astonished by the personality, by the character, by the behavior, by the devotion, by the dynamic presentation of bhakti given by our Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And he gave his heart at his lotus feet, and he received Harinam initiation. That was in 1915. Also in that year, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur told Vinod Bihari and his 2 aunts to go with another devotee whose name was Guru Govinda Bhushan. Later he became Sri Gavastanemi Maharaj. So Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur sent the 4 of them and said, oh, go over to Navadvip town and you should have the darshan of Srila Gokishodas Babaji Maharaj. So they set off across the river and they came there to the town of Navadvip. At that time, Srila Gokishodas Babaji Maharaj was doing bhajan in the latrine of a public dharmashala. It's a place where pilgrims stay for free or very inexpensively. And he'd locked himself inside the latrine there to avoid the company of materialistic persons who were always bothering him and asking him for material benedictions. So prior to this occasion, a local magistrate and chief of the police, they came there and they knocked on the door. Oh, Babaji Maharaj, please open the door, let us in. There's no need for you to stay here. We'll make a nice place for you on the bank of the Ganges. But Maharaj, he said to them, I am not well, I cannot get up to open the door. They said, Maharaj, please, this is very sad for us that we see you taking shelter here. It's not fit for you. It's not a clean place. Srila Gokishodas Babaji Maharaj said, I prefer the fragrance of this place to the fragrance of the association of materialistic persons. So here we see the nature of the Vaishnava. Asatsanga tyag e Vaishnavacha. One of the main symptoms of the Vaishnava is they're very much averse to associating with materialistic persons. So they went away unsuccessful. But when our young 17-year-old Vinod Bihari, along with his aunts and another Vaishnava, Gaura Govinda Prabhu, they came there, they knocked on the door and said, oh, Babaji Maharaj, we have been sent here by Prabhupada Srila, our Prabhupada, that is Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita Das, the only disciple of Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So when he heard this, then he was very happy, and at once he got up and he opened the door. Then he let them inside. So they came inside and they bowed down to him and they worshipped him and offered prayers to this great transcendental personality, Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He was not a person of this world. His vairagya, his renunciation, his detachment was otherworldly, like Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. He lived an extremely austere life, and he was constantly chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And by the power of the holy name, he was experiencing the eternal service of Radha Krishna in their Nitya Leela 24 hours a day, as the maidservant of Srimati Radharani. So, quite appropriately, they all honored him greatly, and they listened to some glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from his lotus lips. Then finally, before they were leaving, Vinod Bihari took the dust of Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj, foot dust, upon his head, and Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj told him, in your life, many calamities, many obstacles, many difficulties will fall upon you, but I am taking them all away. I am removing all these obstacles. Never be fearful. Never be concerned about anything. Just give your full energy and service in spreading the glories of the holy name and the glories of Shishi Gaur Nityananda Prabhu. So then, very happily, they gave pranam to Maharaj and then they left. So even though our Param Gurudev was only 17 years old at that time, throughout his life, it came to pass that he did face many difficulties, extreme difficulties, including sometimes imprisonment for crime that he did not commit, many legal cases, and many problems. But in each situation, he kept his feet on the head of every problem and became fully successful and pleased his holy masters, Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, by his dedicated service. And so, in his old age, our Param Gurudev, he used to weep and say, oh, whatever success I had in my life, it was because when I was a young boy, my Param Gurudev, Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj, gave me this blessing. This is something very important to accept in our own life. Our own success, our own ability to cross over all obstacles in spiritual life and material life is dependent upon one thing: the blessings that our Guru Varga, our senior Vaishnavas bestow upon us, being pleased with our loving service. This is the only ingredient of success in our life. We should never forget this, and on this day we have the fortune to purify ourselves by remembering how our Param Gurudev was the example of this in his life. So they returned to Mayapur, and regularly they used to go and have darshan of Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. In the year 1919, at the Gaurapanim time, our Param Gurudev, Vinod Bihari, he received Diksha from Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. At that time, the Gaudiya Math was a very small organization, very modest organization. But Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was telling the aunts of Vinod Bihari, I want to make a very beautiful temple in each of the 9 islands of Navadvip. And I want to have a printing press and print thousands of books and establish centers in all the major cities throughout India. And he was speaking about his plans. So then the aunt of Vinod Bihari, Saroj Vasini, she said, but how will you do this? There's only a few of you. Srila Prabhupada used to offer arti to the deity and Vinod Bihari used to ring the bell. They were very short-staffed. They didn't have much money or resources or manpower or anything. So she was quite surprised. She said, how will you do this? So then Srila Bhaktiprajnana Thakur said, Vinod Bihari will manage everything. This is quite astonishing. His Gurudev could see the future, being deeply absorbed in bhajan. He had the power of Trikalagya, and he understood that this young boy, Vinod Bihari, would go on to fulfill the manobishta, the innermost heart desires of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Thakur. And we see this is a fact. Prabhupada Bhaktiprajnana Thakur wanted to establish the main headquarters of the Gaudiya Math in Mayapur at Chandrasekhar Bhavan, the house of Chandrasekhar, that is the uncle of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where so many pastimes have taken place. So at that time, the courtyard area of Chandrasekhar Bhavan, it had been taken over by Muslims, and they had been burying their ancestors there in this supremely pure, holy place. So this was very problematic. Our Param Gurudev, Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, now knowing the innermost heart's desire of Prabhupada Bhaktiprajnana Thakur, that he wanted to establish the Mool Mat, the root of all the Gaudiya Mats in that place, he got together with some of his associates and they came there to that graveyard in the middle of the night. And they were very prepared, and quickly they worked and they removed all the graves and threw them in the Ganges. And they'd bought so many trees, very big trees, and plants and flowers, and they made a beautiful garden there. And then they erected a fence, a border fence around the outside of the area. And then before the morning came, they disappeared. The next day, when some of the local persons who used to go to that graveyard woke up, they came there and saw what happened. They couldn't believe that the entire area had completely changed. And they called the police. The police came and said, "Oh, this is a garden. What can we do?" And in this way, our Param Gurudev gave great satisfaction to his spiritual master by performing a great miracle to acquire this land and to purify it and make it ready for the establishment of the gardens of Chandrasekhar Bhavan. So that was the main temple of Gaudiya Mata in Mayapur. And outside of Mayapur, the flagship temple, perhaps you know, is called is in Calcutta in Bagh Bazaar. So our young Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he set off to Calcutta, and he came to that area, Bagh Bazaar, and there was a very, very wealthy person. His name was Jagat Bandhu, and he had a huge house, like a palace, on the bank of the Ganges River there. So Vinod Bihari inquired from him and found out that they had some relation. In fact, his family were citizens on some of the land holdings of Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari's family. So he came there and told the servant, "Oh, please inform Jagat Bandhu that Vinod Bihari has come here from the Zamindar family, give protection to the land where his family comes from. So then when Jagat Bandhu heard this, he was very happy. And he came out and he saw this young brahmachari, and recognizing him as from his landholder's family, he bowed down to him very respectfully and received him as an honorable guest, and asked him to sit down, and they began to talk. So Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari explained to him that he had left his life as a landholder, he had left his education and all activities, and surrendered himself to serve his spiritual master, Prabhupada Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava, whose project was to develop the holy Dham of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mayapur, and to spread the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the holy name throughout the world. So Jagat Bandhu was completely amazed that the very qualified young man had abandoned all the things that people want in this life, such as wealth and fame and success, to become a brahmachari and simply engage in serving his divine spiritual master. So he was very moved by this, and being inspired by Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he also came to Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and became his disciple. And he said, I will provide all the funds for the construction of a beautiful temple in Bagh Bazaar, Calcutta. So he did that. And then when the construction was ready, then he said, oh, I have not done enough. Why? Because if someone invites you to the house and puts a plate in front of you, but they don't put any food on the plate, then this is quite improper. So I should not just fund the entire construction of the temple, but I want to pay all the expenses of the temple, and to cover all the expenses of the prasadam, the deity service, support all the brahmacharis and sannyasis staying there as well throughout my life. So when the Bagh Bazaar temple opened, then there were many speeches were given, and that Jagat Bandhu, he was glorified by the various devotees for his generosity. And particularly one the young devotee who was a lawyer, he was a judge actually, he spoke saying that Jagat Bandhu is so generous because he gave so much in the service of Guru and Krishna. So then Jagat Bandhu, he said, I want to say a few words. So he spoke, he said, I think that the words of the Right Honourable Justice that were spoken by the Right Honourable Justice are actually injustice, because I haven't done anything. Because whatever I have given, it was not mine. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Isha vasamidam sarvam. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord and is meant to be used by his devotees in the service of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, I have not done anything, I have not given anything. If I can take credit for anything, I can only take credit for the fact that I am no longer a thief, that I am no longer stealing from God, but what belongs to God, I have correctly said that this doesn't belong to me. So, in this way, we see that the words of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, they were coming true. Because he said, oh, Vinod Bihari, he will manage everything. The construction of so many mats everywhere. So we see our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami, he was the instrument for the construction of the Mool Mat, the establishment of the Mool Mat of the Gaudiya Mat in Mayapur, and he was also the instrumental cause of the manifestation of the flagship of all of Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's preaching in Calcutta in Bagh Bazaar. Our Param Gurudev, he used to speak very often on the subject of Guru Nishta. Guru Nishta means a loyalty, dedication, affection, devotion to the spiritual master, which is unwavering, which is unfaltering, which is uninterrupted. This is Guru Nishta. So, our Param Gurudev, he used to say that Guru Nishta is the backbone of bhakti. Just as a person whose spine is injured, they cannot move. They become paralyzed. So similarly, a person whose devotion, whose loyalty to their spiritual master is compromised in any way, becomes paralyzed in spiritual life and is unable to take even the smallest step forward. In fact, they begin to sink down into the ocean of material existence. And a person whose spine is intact and healthy, they can run and jump and be very energetic. So in the same way, a person who has the unflinching faith and loyalty in the service of his spiritual master, they can advance in leaps and bounds on the path of devotional service. So there are many examples in the life of our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj, of his aprakrita Guru Nishta. That means supernatural Guru Nishta. You know, an ordinary disciple who takes shelter of his spiritual master, and that disciple is in the stage of bhajana kriya, anartha-nivritti, and so on. They may have strong faith, and on the basis of that they're progressing. But the faith of a person who is an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, immediately when they begin the service of their spiritual master, their faith is completely not something common in this world at all. So our Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, he knew this from the very beginning. When he received Diksha from Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he received the Gopal mantra, Kam Gayatri, Gaur mantra, Gaur Gayatri, but he did not receive Guru mantra. At that time, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had not given Guru mantra to his disciples. In those days, before Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, there were only about 5 other devotees staying in the mutt, and a few others here and there. So after his initiation, Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari very humbly said, "Oh Gurudev, are you not going to give me Guru mantra?" Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was silent and very grave. Then Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he said, "Oh, will I have to receive the Guru mantra and instructions in the Guru mantra from someone else?" Then Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur smiled and he gave the Guru mantra. So our Param Gurudev became the first person to receive Guru mantra and Guru Gayatri from Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and from that day he gave to all of his disciples. So there are so many devotees around the world who have received these 2 mantras in the line of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, but they may not be aware that that great blessing came because of the relationship of our Param Gurudev. Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, he used to say, if you want to progress very quickly in devotional service, then you should weep from the core of your heart when you remember your Guru mantra and Guru Gayatri. This is our prominent relationship. All the Shastras give the same conclusion. Yasya deve parabhakti yatha deve tathagaro tasyaiti katita yata prakashanti mahatmana. Only to those persons who are very devoted to their spiritual master, not less than the devotion they have to Krishna himself, only to such persons are all the divine mysteries of the Vedas automatically manifest, revealed within their hearts. So as Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he was staying in the mutt, serving his spiritual master in so many ways. The other devotees began to notice that he was very serious. When he was honoring prasadam, he never spoke with anyone. He used to take the deity's prasadam with great love and with meditation. He would never talk to anyone at that time. He would never complain at any, oh, this is too salty, this is too spicy, or whatever. And when he was in the mutt, though he performed many exalted services in terms of management and organizing land and collecting rent from land holdings of Gaudiya Math and various things like this, at the same time, no service was too menial for him. To sweep the floor, to clean the pots, and any small service. If he saw it and he had the time, then he would do it. So, though he was from an exalted family, though he was very learned and very handsome, he had all the qualities that can make a person proud, but he was completely devoid of pride. Sri Kunti Devi has said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmaishwarya Suta Sribi Edamana Madapuma Naiva Hatya Vidatam Vaitvam Akinchana Gochara. Oh my Lord, those persons who become intoxicated with pride due to their beauty, their education, their wealth, or their birth in an aristocratic family, they cannot sincerely chant your name. You are Akinchana Gochara. You become the property, Krishna. Oh Krishna, you are the property of those persons who consider, I have nothing, I have no qualification, nothing is mine. So he was exemplary in this manner. One day, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur received a letter, and the letter was from the mother of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami. And in this letter, the news was conveyed that she was very ill, and actually she was on her deathbed. She was about to leave this world. So then, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur called Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, and he came to him, and Prabhupada said, oh, your mother is about to leave this world. So I am ordering you, you should leave the mat and go and see your mother, and then afterwards you can come back. So then Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari gave pranam to his guru, but instead of going to his mother, he went to his small room, his bhajan kutia, and he remained there the whole day, chanting the holy names. So then after some time, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he asked the devotees, oh, did Vinod Bihari leave to go and see his mother? They said, we think that he's in his room. So then Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, tell him to come here. So then Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari came to his guru again and gave pranams. Now we know one should follow the instructions of the spiritual master, one should not disobey the spiritual master. But in this case we see that our Param Gurudev had disobeyed, in one sense, the order of his spiritual master. So when he came before his guru, and Prabhupada said, oh, why did you not go home to your mother? Then he said, my mother is very attached to me. And in the last moment of her life, she'll tell me, my dear son, please come home and take responsibility for the land holdings. And then in Vedic culture, one cannot deny the request, the last request of a dying relative, or to speak of one's mother. So he said, and if she requested me in this way, then how could I deny it? And this is why I didn't go. Because I have heard from your lotus lips, Gurudev, that in the Chaitanya Mangal of Srila Lochan Das Thakur, there it is said, Sakala Janme Mata Pita Sabe Bhai Guru Krishna Nahi Mili Bajara Hi Ai. The meaning is that in every birth that you take, in every life, you get a mother and father. And in each life, you get a different mother and father. But it's very, very rare that one takes a birth in which you meet with Shri Guru, the spiritual master. And by the mercy of Shri Guru, one can attain Sri Krishna. And one can engage in bhajan. So he said, after many births and deaths, oh Srila Prabhupada, now I have finally attained you. I don't want to lose you and lose this life. I had mothers and fathers in so many lifetimes, but I never before had your association. So when Srila Prabhupada heard this, tears came in his eyes. And he was very moved by the devotion of Vinod Bihari. So it is said that one should not disobey the order of the spiritual master. But sometimes a very intimate disciple, like Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, like our Param Gurudev, they know the heart of Guru, and they may sometimes even disobey the spiritual master for the sake of fulfilling the manobishta, the innermost heart's desire of the spiritual master. I want to give another wonderful example of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj's devotion to his Guru Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. You may know that Prabhupada was traveling here and there and giving the very clear teaching of the Vedas that one is a Goswami or one is a Brahman based on one's qualities and one's activities. Guna karma vibhagasha, as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, that you are a Brahmin, you may be a Kshatriya, or you may be a Goswami or so on, only based on qualification. It is not based on birth. So if a person has a birth in such an aristocratic family, but they don't have the qualification, they have no claim to the title. So at that time, there were many caste Goswamis and caste Brahmins whose behavior was not exemplary. And they were being exposed by the words of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. They became very angry with him, and they decided to try to assassinate him with a huge mob of people and attack the Brajmandal Parikrama party. So a big group of thugs was hiding in Navadvip town, and when the Navadvip Mandal Parikrama of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur arrived at the outside the temple of Praudamaya, then they gave the signal to attack. So at that time, the local police, they had been paid off, they had been bribed that they would keep out of the situation. And the mob attacked the parikrama. They were on the roofs of the adjacent buildings. And they were throwing rocks and soda bottles and glass, and some were attacking with sticks on the ground. So all chaos broke out, and the many devotees on the parikrama, they ran here and there to protect themselves. They ran for shelter to escape and save their own lives. But at that time, Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari did not think about himself. He only thought, how can I protect Srila Prabhupada? So he was, with great presence of mind, with very quick wit, he immediately grabbed his Gurudev and by force brought him into the house of a devotee that was very nearby and shut the door. And then he took the sannyas vesh of his Guru. So you can see here that our Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, our Param Gurudev, he very much resembled his own Guru. So at that time he was a brahmachari, but he was wearing white cloth, and obviously his Guru was in sannyas vesh. So he took off his white cloth and gave that to Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and he took the sannyas, saffron sannyas vesh and danda of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Then he sent his Guru away, and the Prabhupada escaped to Mayapur to safety, and he was not recognized wearing Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari's cloth. And then Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, now disguised as his Gurudev, He was ready to face the violent mob and, if necessary, be killed, to give up his life just to save the life of his spiritual master. But fortunately, there was such a turn of events that he also managed to escape from there, and he arrived in Mayapur safely and unharmed. So this history is very astonishing. It reminds one of the history of Quresh. Quresh was a very dedicated disciple of Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya was establishing that Lord Narayan is Bhagavan and that Lord Shiva is his servant. So at that time there were many Shivites in South India, and they very much violently opposed the philosophy of Vaishnavism, the conclusions of Vaishnavism. So at that time, one king in Srirangam invited Ramanujacharya to attend a debate. But Ramanujacharya's dear disciple Quresh got wind of a plot that they were inviting him to come to a debate, and but really it was a trap to capture Ramanujacharya and kill him. So Quresh, he dressed up as his spiritual master and he went there. And so when he arrived, the king just assumed, oh, this is Ramanujacharya and he's arrived for the debate. And a big debate, public debate took place. And in this debate, Quresh completely cut all the arguments of the Shivites and established that the Vishnu Tattva is supreme and Lord Shiva is the servant of Vishnu. But the local pandits there, somehow or other, by a trickery, by sophistry, they declared that they were the winners and that the Ramanujacharya had been defeated. And because he was defeated, the punishment was that his eyes would be gouged out. So then they captured whom they thought was Ramanujacharya, and they gouged out his eyes, and then they threw him out of the palace. So now Quresh, very severely wounded and blind, was wandering very far out of the city. And finally he came to a village, and it just so happened that his guru, Sri Ramanujacharya, was there in that village. And the local people brought him before his guru, and he fell down at the feet of Ramanujacharya, and he was weeping. And Ramanujacharya blessed him, and by the blessing of his Gurudev, gradually, miraculously, his eyesight returned. And he was blessed by his spiritual master that in the future he became Quresh Acharya, a very great devotee, a realized saint who spread the glories of bhakti throughout South India. So we see throughout history that there are classic examples of great disciples, and we see not less an example in the life of our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, his Guru Nishta, his determination, his loyalty, his faithfulness, his trust in the words of Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. This is very rare these days. These days, the disciples, they very often like to put the Guru in a relative position. In fact, in some institutions, it's written in their constitution that only whatever samacharya is absolute, but your Guru is a relative person. But we should never see like this. We should follow the words of Srila Vishnu Thakur. Sakshad haritvaina samasta shaster uktastatha bhavyata eva sadvi kintu prabhoya priya avatasya vande goroshi charna ravindam. My spiritual master is the Sakshat Hari, directly a form of Krishna who has appeared in this world, and through whom Krishna's mercy can come to me. My spiritual master is simultaneously a great devotee of Krishna and also one form of Krishna who has appeared in this world. So both, we should not be either or, but we should see both are there if we want to make progress on the path of bhakti. So After Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur left this world, there was a lot of chaos. A number of devotees wanted to become acharyas. They quarreled with each other. They made the movement, the Gaudiya Math, broke up into several groups. And the printing of monthly and weekly magazines and the daily magazine, Nadia Prakash, all the printing of these journals stopped. And the performance of Navadip Dham Parikrama was stopped. The performance of Jagannath Puri Parikrama and the performance of Brajmandal Parikrama during Kartik. All of these pilgrimages that had been performed under the guidance of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, they stopped. So it was a very somewhat dark time in the history of the Gaudiya Math. And our Param Gurudev at that time, instead of quarreling with God brothers over money and land and temples, he just left the Math in the clothes that he was wearing without trying to take any money or anything. And he got together with his God brothers and he tried to help his God brothers, support them in their endeavors to preach. But these attempts failed several times. So then finally he took it upon himself and he received sannyas from Param Pujapad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, who was actually his younger god brother. And we consider in a paramartic, in a transcendental sense, that he'd already received the Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's own danda and his own cloth. But from the outer sense, from his younger god brother, whom he very much respected and who was very highly qualified, he received sannyas, and then his name became Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj. And he began to engage in fulfilling the Manobhishta, the innermost heart's desire of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, to reinvigorate all the parikramas and all the book publications that his spiritual master was doing, to bring them, manifest them again. And he succeeded in doing that on an even bigger scale. So, let's see. Here we see our Param Gurudev with some of those wonderful devotees. My Gurudev is there on just to the behind the right shoulder of Param Gurudev. You can see in this old photograph our Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami is quite young there. So Param Gurudev had a very perfect and balanced approach to preaching. He used to cut the Mayavad philosophy, impersonal philosophy, and he was very enthusiastic to present the Vedanta Sutra of Srila Vyasadeva, the true meaning of Vedanta, because Vedanta had been misappropriated by impersonalists. So on the basis of Vedanta, which was respected by all those who follow the impersonal path, he would use those very sutras to establish that God is a person, that he has a divine form, and that he can only be known by bhakti. So on the one hand, he was cutting the jungles of misconception. And on the other hand, he also used to speak about the ultimate goal of life. What is that? To be Rupanuga, to attain the eternal service of Radha and Krishna, in the mood of her maidservants, following in the group of Sri Rupa Manjari. But he did not speak about the very high topics in the presence of unqualified persons. And yet still, he could touch on those topics in a wonderful way, in a hidden way, that the advanced devotees could appreciate what he was saying, and the more junior devotees would hear that he was speaking on Vedanta Sutra or some philosophical point. This was his skill, and it was a skill that he'd learned from Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, who was also very expert at ostensibly presenting philosophical points, but mixing with that, for those who are qualified to see it, very beautiful points of rasa tattva also. So I want to give an example that once in the town of Krishna Nagar, there was a satsang, and so many devotees came there, and many highly ranked local officials and aristocracy attended that meeting. And each one of them was giving a speech and expressing their realizations about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the path of bhakti. So in that meeting there was an old man, and he was a lawyer. He'd been a lawyer. And he gave a very moving speech. He said, "Actually, I have wasted my life. I kept myself distant. I distanced myself from the association of pure devotees. I busied myself in worldly activities, in so many legal cases, so many court cases, for years and years and years. But I did not engage in Krishna bhajan. And now I am old. My senses have become weak. My intelligence is failing. It's very difficult for me to study and learn new things. And so I've wasted my life, and it has been quite disastrous." And he spoke this with great sincerity and great emotion, bringing tears to the eyes of the audience. So then afterwards, the chairman of this meeting, he asked our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami, to speak. And he spoke in a very sweet way. He said, "The purpose of human life is the service of Sri Krishna. And how should Krishna be served? Srinath Chakravarti has written a verse that encapsulates the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayastadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Brajabudu Bhargena Yakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumato Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradara Para." The meaning is that the supreme worshipable form of the Lord is Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, in Vrindavan. And just as Sri Krishna is worshipable, so similarly his divine abode, the forest of Vrindavan, is transcendental, eternal and worshipable as Sri Krishna himself. And what is the best method of worship? Brajavadu Vargena Yakalpita. The method in which Krishna is served by the gopis of Vrindavan is the best upasana. And if you want to know about this, then you'll have to turn to the supreme evidence, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the ultimate goal of life is that very type of brain. This is the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for which I have the utmost honor. I don't have any honor for other contradictory, misguided opinions. This is a very famous verse. Param Gurudev quoted this verse and said, so, the service gopis render to Radha and Krishna, this is the highest service. So, making a court case, making a legal case, is actually the highest sadhana. It is the best sadhana in this service. But the general people of the world don't understand it. How is that? Once upon a time, Sri Krishna made an appointment to meet with Srimati Radharani. And Radharani and her Sakis were waiting, but Sri Krishna did not come. Then, after some time, the Manjaris, the maidservants, Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari, the maidservants of Radhika, they set out to try to find this Krishna. Where is he? And searching here and there, they came to Govardhan Hill, and there is a place called the Gauri Kund. And there they discovered that Krishna was in the Kunj of Chandravali meeting with her. So at that time, they shouted out, "Oh, the cows and calves are suffering because a bull demon is attacking them. Help, help!" When Krishna heard this, then he said to Chandravali, "Please excuse me for now. I'll come back, but now I have to leave. There's some danger." And on this pretext, even though Krishna knew, he recognized the voice of Rupa Manjari, he came out from the Kunj of the Chandravali, and then he was accompanied by Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari back to the place of Shrimati Radhika in Radha Kund. So when Krishna came there, then Lalita Sakhi, she was quite upset with Krishna, and she made him sign a document, a legal document, saying that I am the property of Brishubhanu Nandini. I will never leave the service of Brishubhanu Nandini to go to any other gopi of Vrindavan. And signed Krishna. So he signed that legal document, and Lalita Sakhi took that document and kept it with her for future reference. Then, on a later occasion, when again Radharani was waiting for Krishna, and she was feeling so much separation, then the maidservants of Radhika, they were searching for Krishna, and again they found that he was meeting with Chandravali, and they issued a warrant for his arrest, that he had broken the law, that he'd broken his contract, and therefore he will have to be ordered to come to the court. So in Krishna's absence, the Sakhis had a meeting and found Krishna guilty in his absence, and sent message that he must come to the court and receive his punishment. So in this way, then the maidservants of Radhika, they again brought Krishna to the Kunj of Shrimati Radhika. So in this way, Srila Param Gurudev, he said that those who are serving under the guidance of Rupa Manjari, in their life, their only aim and objective is to bring happiness to Radhika, to arrange for her sweet meeting with Krishna, and sometimes to facilitate that meeting. Some court case, some legal case may be involved. So, in this way, the persons who were in that meeting, they became quite astonished that on the one hand, he'd given some consolation, some encouragement to that old lawyer, and at the same time, he'd immersed them all in the nectar of the transcendental world. How sweet and beautiful are the pastimes of Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan, and how wonderful are the services of Radha Krishna's maidservants who arrange for their meetings there. So Param Gurudev, though he was darshanik, he was a great philosopher, but he was also very rasik. And nowhere is that expressed more than in his wonderful poetry called the Radha Vinod Bihari Tattvastakam. So, I love this photograph so much. There we see our own Gurudev sitting at the feet of his spiritual master. It's very moving to see that. So I want to speak about this subject. We're going through 3 generations now. The devotion of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami to Srila Prabhupada, and then the devotion of our Gurudev to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj. In Mathura, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj established the deities of Radha Vinod Bihari. So, in the Gaudiya mats and in the Goswami temples, we see that the deity of Radhika is fair, and the deity of Krishna is usually, to material vision, manifest from black marble. But in the deities of Vinod Bihari, we see that Krishna is, from the perspective of material vision, white marble. So some persons became suspicious about this, and they suggested that, this Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, he's installed a white marble Krishna probably because the white marble is cheaper than black marble and he got these deities for a good price. So when Param Gurudev heard this, he was somewhat amused because the cost was no consideration at all. There was something very, very deep behind his manifestation in this world of Sri Radha Vinod Bihari. So he wanted to express that, and he wrote a poem called Sri Radha Vinod Bihari Tattvastakam. So there in the first verse, he has written, Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Sri Krishnam Charnam Bande Radha Lingita Vigraham. The meaning is that Sri Krishna, he was absorbed in anxiety, in separation, remembering Radharani. And in that separation, Krishna, his sham color disappeared and he became golden. I bow down to the lotus feet of that Krishna who is Radha Lingita Vigraha, embraced by Shrimati Radhika. This is the general meaning of the verse. But what is the inner mood of our Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj? In Srimad Bhagavatam, there you find the description of Rasa Lila. And in the Rasa Lila, Krishna is dancing with the Braj Gopis, but Radhika becomes in man, and because of this, Krishna took Radharani away just by herself, abandoning all the other gopis. And in separation from Krishna, the other gopis, they became mad. They began to imitate Krishna's pastimes. And even they became sham. Their fair golden complexions went away and they became sham color just like Krishna by being absorbed in thoughts of him. And Sri Krishna himself enjoyed beautiful pastimes alone with Radharani. But then when her Sakhis were searching for them throughout the forest, began to draw near, then Krishna also abandoned Radharani and he disappeared. So at that time, all Braj Gopis, they saw Radharani had fallen unconscious and recognized that her prem was like a great conflagration, a huge fire compared to their fire of separation was just like the illumination of a firefly. And they all developed great honor for Radhika. Her own Sakhis already had great honor, but the other Sakhis in other groups began to respect her more and more. And so when Radhika came back to external consciousness, then the degree to which those gopis honored her, to that degree Radhika's prem spread out and filled them, and everyone's prem was elevated. Then they came on the bank of Jamuna, and weeping, they sang the glories of Krishna. That's called Gopi Geet. So at the end of Gopi Geet, Shrimati Radhika, she was weeping, and in a very pathetic tone she said, Yate sujata charanam buruham staneshu Betashanai priyadadi mahika kasheshu Teinata vimmata sitadvyata teina kimswit Kurpadi bi pravatidi bhavadayusham. The essence of the last line of this verse is that, O Krishna, without your service I cannot stay alive. So what's the use of my living? But it's not, according to my karma, it's not my time to die. But still I cannot live. So let me give up my body now, and the remainder of my lifespan, my ayu, may that be added to your lifespan, so you can have a long and happy life. I donate my surplus lifespan to you, so you will have a longer and happier life here in Vrindavan. So when Radhika spoke these words, then Krishna, he couldn't contain himself any longer, and at once he came out from his hiding place in the kunjas. Tasam avirabhut shauris mayamana mukambuja pitambara darashagvi sakshan manmata manmata. And in his very beautiful form, he appeared before all the gopis, being impelled. He couldn't check himself, he was impelled, seeing the intensity of Radhika's separation. So we find in Srimad Bhagavatam how the separation of Radharani from Krishna has been glorified. But when we consider the mood of Rupa Goswami Pad, or the mood of the maidservants of Radharani. Their devotion for Radhika is greater than their love for Krishna. If Radhika is happy, they are happy. If Radhika is sad, they are sad. If Krishna is happy, they are happy. And if Krishna is sad, but Radhika is happy, then they don't mind if Krishna, he can be sad for some time, until Radharani decides to again make him happy. So their moods follow Radhika. So our Param Gurudev, being the incarnation of Vinod Manjari, he wanted to express to the world a very beautiful pastime. And that is that once Radharani herself disappeared from the Rasalila, leaving Krishna in separation. And Krishna wandered from Kunj to Kunj on the bank of Jamuna. And finally Krishna came to the place now called Imlitala. There's a tamarind tree there. And Krishna sat down there alone. He would rather be alone with his thoughts of Radharani than with all the other gopis put together. This is a real testament to the greatness of Radhika's prema. So as Krishna was sitting there and remembering the beauty and loving services of Radharani, he completely forgot himself. And in being absorbed in her, his sham complexion became pale, and gradually he became golden. But what happened at that time? Radharani was herself hiding in a kunj and watching Krishna's reaction. And just as when Krishna could no longer tolerate Radhika's separation, he appeared in the Raslila. So similarly, when Radharani saw Krishna becoming golden in the anxiety of separation from her, she could no longer tolerate his separation. And she appeared from that kunj and came before Sri Krishna. So, Avirbhut Gauri, the Gauri, the golden form of Radharani, appeared there and embraced Sri Krishna. So that very pastime, you can see in the end of Vinod Bihari Tattvastakam, our Param Gurudev said, by the mercy of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, in my heart I am beholding this very beautiful meeting of Radha and Krishna at Imlitala, which is like the reverse of what we find in the Ras Leela of Srimad Bhagavatam, or which we can say, which is only hinted at by Vyanjan Briti, by implication, the implied meaning of the Leela described by Shukadev Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this implied meaning, this pastime, is much more relishable for those who are following Rupa Manjari, those who have greater dedication for Radhika than for Krishna. So we see that our Gurudev, many years later, he established the Gopinath Bhavan, a very big temple in Vrindavan. But you see that Gopinath Bhavan shares a wall with the next mutt, and the next mutt there is actually Imlitala, that place. And our Gurudev established very beautiful deities of Radha and Krishna, Krishna with a fair complexion. And in this way, our Gurudev did Manobhishta Seva. He served the innermost desires of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava by manifesting Sri Radha Vinod Bihari actually in that place under the very shade of the Imlitala tree. And those who will serve Gurudev, be under the guidance of Gurudev in our line, following Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, they will also have the darshan of this astonishing, sweet and tender meeting of Radha and Krishna at Imlitala. So, I want to conclude our discussion today about the glories of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami. There are so many things to say, so many things I want to say. I hope that you've all been reading his life history, the biography written by our Gurudev today. If you haven't, read it tomorrow. Read the whole book again and again. It's quite an astonishing work which it brings you right into the life of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, and all the readers become saturated with the indefatigable, unlimited, the enthusiasm for service to the spiritual master. It's quite an incredible text. I was very fortunate in my life that at first I didn't know about the life of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, and the first thing I learnt about it was when Srila Gurudev wrote the manuscript of this book and gave the manuscript to me and said, I want you to translate this into English. So the first time I learned all about our Param Gurudev was actually translating that biography. So I was turning every page with great eagerness. I can never repay Gurudev for that, the kindness he bestowed upon me, for giving me the opportunity to render that service. So I'd like to conclude our discussion today by speaking about Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami, what he used to say on his own Vyasa Puja day. So he used to say, on my birthday, it is not a day when I should be worshipped, but rather it's a day when I should give proper honor to all of my Guru Parampara. I should give proper honor to all the Acharyas and all senior devotees, and to all of my god brothers, senior and junior. Why? Because what I am and what I am preaching is not coming from me. It is not that I am so intelligent or that I am preaching so many things. The credit for everything belongs to my Gurudev. It's only by the mercy of my spiritual master that I know anything about the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That I know anything about Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and other great acharyas in our Guru Parampara. Who am I? I was just sinking in the dark well of worldly activities in this material existence. But my Gurudev was very kind to me. For millions of lifetimes, for millions of years, so many incarnations of Krishna came to this world. So many acharyas came to this world. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates came to this world, but I was still here. It was only my spiritual master who personally came to me, and he grabbed me by the sika, and by force he dragged me, and he mercifully engaged me in his service. And he did not engage me in his service partially, but fully. He didn't say to me, oh, you should go and get a job and do so many other things, and now and then when you have some time you can do some service. No, he caught me and engaged me full time in his service. Param Gurudev said, sometimes desires which were outside of the realm of pure devotion came into my mind. And at that time, I went to my Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and I asked him, oh Gurudev, how can I be saved? And he answered me. He said, don't worry, I will save you. If one is sincere, Guru and Krishna will mercifully save that person. So don't worry. So from these words we can see the astonishing humility of Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj. After Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur left, there were so many calamities and difficult situations. But Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Maharaj, starting from nothing, established so many mats everywhere. He printed and distributed so many books. He inaugurated a huge Navadvip Dham Parikrama, the biggest parikrama the world has ever seen, with 20,000 devotees. And Brajmandal Parikrama, Jagannath Puri Parikrama. And at the end of his life, despite all of his successes, he used to criticize himself and say, oh, I have not done enough. My Gurudev said to me, this is the sign of a pure devotee. They serve their Gurudev so much, and in the end they criticize themselves that I have not done enough. I have made many mistakes. So, in this way, I'm remembering the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev. I'm praying that He will always sprinkle His mercy upon me. That with a small fraction of His devotion, I can serve my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktiprajnana Keshava Goswami Maharaj. And thereby become their eternal servant and the recipient of one drop of their mercy. And I would like to invite other devotees, please join us to fulfill the Manobishta Seva, fulfilling the innermost heart's desire of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and our Param Gurudev by attending our Navadvip Dham Parikrama and Jagannath Puri Parikrama, which are coming up very soon. So in Navadvip from the 16th to the 22nd of February, and in Jagannath Puri from the 25th of February to the 3rd of March, we'll be doing parikrama there, and we'll be visiting all the important places, many of the important places of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the hearing, continuing the flow of the beautiful katha spoken by our Guru Parampara. You can know without any doubt that if you will attend this parikrama, you will be pleasing your Guru Parampara so much. And why did they want us to take part in these parikramas? And the reason is that when you are circumambulating the holy Dham in the company of Guru and Vaishnavas, hearing Harikatha, immersed in the kirtans, and also the power of the Dham itself, the Stam Prabhav, you will have a life-changing experience which will propel you very, very rapidly on the path of devotional service towards your ultimate goal. So if you haven't bought your ticket yet and you haven't decided to come yet, change your mind at once, cancel everything. Please come and join us on Navadvip Parikrama and the Jagannath Puri Parikrama. And these are coming up very soon. So thank you very much. With these words, I offer my heart like flowers at the lotus feet of Param Gurudev and pray to him for his causeless mercy. And I hope that you can all join us again next week in this broadcast of Sri Chaitanya Academy. Hare Krishna. My pranam to all.